stop planting tomatoes first. If you're still babying fragile plants that need staking, spraying, and watering twice a day, you're spending most of your energy on the hardest vegetable in the garden. There are 9 vegetables that grow easier than a tomato ever will, and most gardeners have never even planted one. One of them produces hundreds of fruits from a single plant and tells you it's ripe by falling to the ground on its own, no guessing required. Another won't give you a single fruit unless you plant a second one right beside it, a rule most first-time growers never see coming. And one on this list spreads so aggressively, experienced growers actually bury a container underground just to keep it contained. These are not difficult crops hiding in botanical gardens. They're vegetables that quietly disappeared from modern backyards while tomatoes took over every seed catalog in the country. If you're ready for a garden that gives you more food for less work, this list changes that today. Number 1. Kohlrabi. Kohlrabi looks like it doesn't belong in a garden at all. A round bulb sitting right above the soil, leafy stems shooting out the top. It looks nothing like a typical vegetable, so unusual that most people walk right past it without a second glance. Kohlrabi is ready to harvest in just 55 days, fast, simple, and almost no waiting around. The flavor surprises people every single time. Broccoli stem crossed with apple, mild, crisp, and slightly sweet. And you can eat it either way, raw in a salad for that crunch, or roasted in the oven if you want it softer, slightly caramelized around the edges. Even the leaves on top are edible. Nothing about this plant goes to waste. Cook them the same way you'd cook any leafy green. A quick sauté is all it takes. Cool temperatures slow the plant down, just enough to concentrate its sugars. That's why spring and fall harvests taste the best. Sweeter, crisper, more flavor packed into every bite. Planting it is almost lazy-proof. Direct sow the seeds straight into the ground, give it space, then walk away. It does not demand attention the way a tomato does. No staking, no constant watering, no daily checking, which makes it one of the easiest vegetables on this entire list, a perfect starting point if you've never grown anything unusual before. Number 2. Celeriac. Celeriac is a root vegetable with a strong celery flavor. It grows as a knobby, rough-looking bulb underground rather than tall stalks above it. But don't let the appearance put you off. A simple paring knife is all it takes. Just trim the knobs and slice away the outer layer. Once you peel it, the inside is smooth and cooks beautifully. One of the biggest advantages of celeriac is storage. It keeps for months in a cool space, which makes it a practical choice if you like having vegetables on hand through the winter without relying on the grocery store. You can eat it either way. Mash it the way you would mash potatoes for a smooth, comforting side, or shred it raw into a slaw for something fresh and crunchy instead. Celeriac takes longer to mature than kohlrabi, so patience matters here. But the payoff is a vegetable you can store and use for months after harvest. Number 3. Sunchoke. Sunchoke, also known as Jerusalem artichoke, is actually a relative of the sunflower, and you'll see the resemblance immediately once it blooms. The plant grows 6 to 10 feet tall with bright yellow flowers, while underground it produces nutty flavored tubers that taste something like a cross between a potato and a water chestnut. Here's something important to know before planting sunchoke. It spreads aggressively, and once it takes hold, it can be difficult to fully control. Any tuber left in the ground will regrow the following year, so this is one vegetable you want to plant in a contained area, whether that's a raised bed with a barrier or a section of the yard you don't mind it taking over. And if space is limited, a large container works just as well, keeping the entire plant in one place from the start. Once established, sunchoke needs very little care. It's one of the most self-sufficient vegetables on this list, which makes it a good option if you want food production without much ongoing work. One thing worth knowing before you try it for the first time, sunchokes can sit a little heavy for some people, especially if you eat a large portion right away.
Starting with a small serving lets your body adjust, and most people find it easier to enjoy after the first try or two.
Number 4. Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach is not related to true spinach botanically, despite the name and the similar taste. That's precisely why it's worth growing. If regular spinach has ever bolted and turned bitter on you during a hot summer, Malabar spinach solves that problem because unlike regular spinach, it actually thrives in heat. This plant grows as a vine, and it does need something to climb. A trellis or a post works well as it spreads. That makes it a good choice if you're working with limited garden space and want to grow vertically instead of horizontally. If you don't have room for a trellis, a large container with a small stake or support still works fine, so even a patio or balcony can handle it. The leaves are thick and slightly glossy, and you can harvest them continuously through the warmest months of the year, right when regular spinach would already be finished for the season. For anyone in a hot climate who's struggled to keep leafy greens going through summer, this is one of the most practical vegetables on this entire list. Number 5. Loofah. Loofah is a plant with 2 completely different uses depending on when you harvest it. Picked young, it tastes and cooks similarly to zucchini, mild and versatile in almost any dish. Left on the vine to mature and dry out, the same vegetable turns into a natural fibrous sponge, the kind you may have already seen sold in stores. Once it's fully dried, the process is simple. Just peel away the outer skin, shake out the seeds, and what's left is the sponge itself, ready to use. Loofah needs a long, warm growing season to fully mature, so it works best in regions with extended summers. It grows on a vine, similar to a cucumber or squash, and benefits from a trellis to keep the fruit off the ground as it develops. Beyond that, it's a genuinely easy plant to grow. It doesn't ask for much once it's established, just consistent warmth and something to climb. Growing your own loofah sponges is a small but satisfying project, since it's a vegetable that gives you a household product at the end of the season, not just something to eat. Number 6. Shiso. Shiso, also called perilla, has a flavor that's hard to compare to anything else, somewhere between basil, mint, and anise all at once. It's a staple in sushi wraps, used as a garnish, and even pickled in some traditional dishes. Widely used across Asian cuisine, but it's rarely grown in typical American backyard gardens. One thing to know about shiso before planting it self-sows prolifically, meaning it will drop seeds and come back on its own year after year. In some states, it's actually considered invasive, so it's worth checking your local growing guidelines before planting it directly in the ground. Growing it in a pot or a contained bed is the safer route if you want to avoid it spreading beyond where you intended. For anyone interested in cooking with fresh, unusual herbs, shiso adds a flavor to your kitchen that's genuinely difficult to find at most grocery stores. Number 7. Tomatillos. Tomatillos look like small green tomatoes wrapped in a papery husk, and they're the essential ingredient in salsa verde. If you've ever bought salsa verde at the store, this is the vegetable behind that flavor. Before cooking or eating one, that papery husk needs to come off completely. It peels away easily by hand, and underneath, the fruit itself is often slightly sticky, which is completely normal and rinses off in seconds. And despite the resemblance, a tomatillo isn't just a green tomato. It belongs to its own separate plant family with a tangy, slightly citrus flavor that a green tomato simply doesn't have. The one thing tomatillos need that many gardeners don't expect is a pollination partner. A single tomatillo plant on its own typically won't produce fruit, so you need at least 2 plants growing near each other for proper pollination. Once that condition is met, tomatillo plants are extremely productive, often producing far more fruit than a single tomato plant would in the same space. If you enjoy cooking Mexican dishes at home, growing your own tomatillos means fresh salsa verde whenever you want it, straight from the garden.
And salsa verde is really just the beginning. Tomatillos also work well roasted into salads, simmered into soups, or blended into a tangy sauce for tacos and grilled meats.
Number 8. Yard-long beans. Yard-long beans live up to their name, growing anywhere from 18 inches to a full 3 feet in length, noticeably longer than the regular green beans found in most gardens. The taste is close to a standard green bean, but slightly more tender with a subtle nuttiness that comes through once cooked. They're a heat-loving climbing plant, so they need a tall trellis to support their growth through the season, and without one, the vines struggle to stay upright. If space is tight, a large container with a tall stake works as a substitute, keeping the plant contained while still giving it room to climb. These beans are especially good for stir-fries, holding their texture well under high heat instead of going soft the way some green beans do. Because the plant is a vigorous climber, giving it a sturdy structure to grow on from the start makes a noticeable difference in how well it performs through the season. From seed to harvest typically takes around 60 to 70 days, and once the vines get going, they're remarkably low maintenance for how much they produce. If you already grow pole beans and want to try something with a bit more character, yard-long beans are a natural next step, especially if you enjoy Asian-style cooking.
Number 9. Ground cherry. We saved this one for last because it might be the most surprising vegetable on the entire list. Ground cherries look like small yellow-orange fruits wrapped in a papery husk, similar in appearance to tomatillos, but the flavor is completely different. A mix of pineapple and tomato that catches most people off guard the first time they try it. And despite the name, ground cherries aren't actually related to cherries at all. They're closer to a small tomato in botanical terms, and often get mistaken for a type of gooseberry, even though the two aren't the same plant. Ground cherries grow the same way tomatillos do, and a single plant can produce hundreds of fruits over a season, which makes this one of the most productive vegetables on this entire list relative to the space it takes up. They also do well in containers, so even gardeners with limited space can grow a full harvest. Once the fruit ripens and drops from the plant on its own, that's your sign it's ready to eat. No guesswork required. For anyone looking for a vegetable that's both easy to grow and genuinely fun to introduce to family and friends who've never tried it, this is the one to start with.